Hi, hello. Before you said anything, I know you might be tempted, I don't have a phone stand. I am recording this, what you're seeing, with my phone because I don't have a camera uh, placed on a bunch of books. It's just precariously balancing with like a pot of paint on it so that it doesn't fall over. Anyways, it's not ideal. But that is also the reason why it's not the format it should be. I didn't realize, I'm very sorry. I'm gonna try to do a better job at recording this stuff. But, anyways, with that address, and before you start screaming at me because it looks so awful, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because, it ended up looking awesome, and I just don't really know how I did it. Um, the original reference is just, this picture of a girl holding a light, what is it called? A lighter? The thing that you use to start a fire, but it's not matches, next to her eye. And it creates this amazing balance of shadows and lights across her face, and everything is in orange and reds and warm hues. And I really wanted to make that. I'm starting a new little sketchbook here, and well, what better than to start with something fire? I'm sorry. Um, Sometimes I get a little frustrated when I'm, posting on TikTok or Instagram because, well, my process, I don't know, watercolors, in general, start with a light color base, and you start building up layers as you apply them, So the beginning of my drawings, my paintings, usually looks like this, just a bunch of random colors. And it's a little sad because I know most people won't watch beyond a few seconds and they won't get to see how cool it will look in the end, because honestly it's just a matter of adding to it. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you add and add and add, and if a painting was cursed, it just won't work. But I don't really get that problem much with watercolors. I also don't really get to paint fire, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. I I don't know, I wasn't really following exactly how it looked, but I am leaving a white space, which is, where the brighter part of the flame is in the picture, and I'm creating a little bit of a gradient with orange and yellow and red, and it ended up looking awesome, which is kind of weird if you think about it, because I'm making a flame out of watercolor, which is wet paint, or well, wet pigment, but I am painting fire. But it looks really good made in watercolors. It, Basically, what I'm saying is that fire and water are exactly the same thing, but just in liquid and in warm. Amazing discovery, I know. Anyways, I don't really have much patience when it comes to watercolors. I know there are a lot of people, well, I think, it's the right way of doing it. You are supposed to get the whole page wet, and you make a first base layer of colors, and you let that dry, and then you come back and you add to it. I don't do that, which is why sometimes my pages just start tearing up, because I work in the dry page, but I leave it sopping wet when I'm done with it. I don't have the patience to just work so slowly, unless it's something very big or with a lot of details. I'm just going with the flow. But as I said, we are 4 minutes and a half in, and it just looks like a bunch of random colors, and I like them. I've said before that sometimes I just start painting without much of a thought. I pick a color and I start painting what I see in that color, and then I just keep going. Um, with this painting, I was kind of like about this time, and I just started to think, did I did this right? Because the other day I was painting a tangerine, with my little students at the class that I give, and we just started with a base layer of orange. And I was like, well, I mean, yes, it's orange, but I don't know, I could have made them make a green undertone and some creams in some places and then cover it with orange so that I have a little bit more of variety. And that's exactly what I was thinking here, because I just went ahead with orange and then I started adding some yellows, and now I'm doing reds, but the base is white. And I don't know, maybe I should have made a little, like a pale tan for her skin. That's what I was thinking. I was kind of worried that it might not look as well as I wanted to, because it didn't have the right, I didn't did it right. I didn't chose the best route, which is funny because I don't make choices when I'm painting. I don't, at least not consciously. It just happens. I start painting and then I am like, yeah, I'm gonna do this color, and then I'm gonna do that other color, and then I'm gonna come back to the color that I already made because I just changed my mind. It's not conscious, it's not methodic, and it's kind of chaotic. And I was worrying here that chaoticness will, bite me in the ass, because I was like, well, it's so pretty, I don't want to mess it up. But sometimes you ignore the little voice in your head that says that, because that voice is called anxiety, and you just keep going. Which is exactly what I say to my students, and sometimes I forget it. You don't need to be so concerned, because, unless somebody is actually paying you to paint this, it's okay if it doesn't look perfect. You're not supposed to make masterpieces or flawless paintings every time you pick up your materials. That's not fun. I've made a lot of silly stuff. You're not gonna really see it here, because I'm gonna try to post the most elaborate pieces and the ones that have, more the bigger ones. Oh, look, I put black on the fire. That's nice. Yeah, it looks nice. Um, but on my Instagram and TikTok, which I just basically post the same stuff there, I really like to do silly things. It gives me life. I've painted a lot of weird animals. Those pics of cats where they just have the stupidest faces and they look adorably silly. Well, I paint a lot of those, and you know, they're not amazing. They don't have a lot of detail. They are usually very small and done in minutes, but they bring me so much joy that I don't really mind that they are not. I don't have the expectation of them being amazing. They ended up looking really good and I love them. But I mean, like, I'm not gonna rip my heart out and be so sad because they are not, I don't know, museum worthy, or someone's gonna buy them, which actually people do buy them. My cats are the things that sell the most because just of how silly they are. But I don't know, I think art, maybe social media sometimes gives us this idea that realistic, serious, compelling, deeply worked pieces are what's really worth worth making, and what's worthy of being shown. But I just find that I don't really enjoy those pieces as much. I mean, this was made in 20 minutes, and we are like halfway done, and it's not exceedingly worked. It's not something I spend days and weeks and months. It doesn't have much of a meaning. it's just something that I did with pleasure, and it's also not realistic, by the way. I don't apply my colors intending them to be as close as possible to the reference. Actually, I really like to just crank my saturation on my head. Not sometimes I do edit the references so that it's a lot easier to follow, but I just do it in my head, I don't really work with pale. I don't really work with such subtleties, which is why I'm saying I don't really do watercolors the way you're supposed to. I just start a little and then I'm doing really strong strokes. Here I'm using ink because black watercolors just really take a long time to build, and ink. I don't really know how to call it in my country. It's called uh, ink, Chinese inks, which come in these little square bottles. They're really nice. You get a nice solid black with those in just one stroke. So it's very convenient and it's also very cheap. So I don't know, a little bit of advice for you if you wanna do that. My point was that sometimes we underestimate the value of silly things. Not just in painting, but in everyday life. Just doing something silly for the sake of it. Because you want to. I don't know. We're too serious for beings that live on a world that is so utterly absurd with its incongruences that I feel like we were just a bit more silly. We would enjoy ourselves more. I'm not saying that you're not supposed to be serious. I don't really know what I'm saying, so if you don't want to listen to me, sorry, I can't help you. This is gonna be on the video. But there are things that we can be serious about and really involved in, and there are things that we can just do for the fulfillment of it. Like it feeds your soul to make something that just makes you laugh. I've always said that I really like making silly things. I use the word stupid, but silly works well because it's just rewarding. It's peaceful. You're bringing something to life that will make someone smile, and even if not someone, it's just yourself, it's still making something good. A lot of very important pieces of modern art are criticisms against society, against everything that is wrong, and that's just sometimes hard to see. I'm not saying, of course, art, it's supposed to make a criticism, but I don't know, it's not exactly escapism, but it's like when you're walking, and you're very hurried because you need to get to your work or school or wherever you're going, and you're walking very, very fast and consistently. And I don't know, you see a pigeon walking on the sidewalk, and you just stop and look at it because it walks so silly. It wobbles from foot to foot, and it goes and it makes the tick, 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 tick little sound with its feet. Or you see a cat, or you see a butterfly, or you see, I don't know, another pedestrian that is wearing something that is just weird for you, and you just, oh, I know what I'm saying. Yes, it's basically stopping and getting a little bit outside your shark mind and appreciating the world around you, not in the large scheme. You don't have to stop and be like, I am alive and I exist, but you know there is a guy that is wearing a bright pink fedora and, I don't know, striped red pants. It just looks funny to you and you enjoy it. That's a little bit of what I feel when I'm making a silly animal or just someone with a weird expression. And I don't know, that's what I want to share with you. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think.